So, welcome to the Warwick SU annual members meeting for 2026. It's great to see so many people here tonight, and thank you so much for choosing to spend your evening with us. We really do appreciate it. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Ollie Chapman, and I'm the Vice President for Welfare and Campaigns. My pronouns are he, him, and I'll be hosting us throughout this evening. So, this is a little bit like I'll be chairing the meeting, but it's slightly less formal than that. So, it will follow a structure and an agenda, which I'll now place onto the board. But it's not as formal as sort of, a committee meeting or anything like that. It's a nice chilled out thing. It's a little different as well because we're trying a new format. So one that's more interactive, more visual, as you can see on the board. And most importantly, it's centered around our student members. And this meeting really, really does matter because it's one of the key moments in our democratic calendar where you get to see, question and celebrate the year at Warwick Students' Union. So we really are happy that you're here and we hope you have a good time. Before we get into all that formal business that I've just mentioned, we're going to begin the evening, as we mean to go on, by showcasing some of the very best of our students. So please join me in welcoming the Barbershop group, who'll be performing on an a cappella piece for us this evening. Interval is the newest barbershop group from Warwick a cappella and comprises of 5 members, unlike the traditional quartet sort of setup. So please welcome them to the stage and join me in an applause.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you are only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you are only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the night of the dark black night. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the night of the dark black night. Oh, blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you are only waiting for this moment to arise. You are only waiting for this moment to arise. You are only waiting for this moment to arise. I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a great warm welcome would be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and the voice keeps saying, "This is where I'm meant to be." I will find my way
I can go the distance. I'll be there. Oh, if I can be strong, I know every mile will be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong. Do 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 do. Belong. Do 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 do. I'll be where I belong. Down an unknown road to embrace my fate. Oh, that road may wander, lead me to you, and 1,000 years will be worth the wait. It may take a lifetime, but somehow I'll see it through. Oh, I will find my way. I can go the distance. Oh, I'll be there someday. I can be strong. I know every mile will be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong. And I belong. It's left beyond the glory is the hardest part. For a hero's strength is measured by his heart. His heart, where lies his heart. I'll beat the odds and maybe I can go the distance. I will before the world and I'll be fearless, proud and strong. I will please my God. I can go the distance till I find my heroes welcome right where, right there where I belong. And every mile will be worth my while. I'll be right where I belong.
I mean, that was just amazing. Thank you so much. I did not know you were going to start with Blackbird either. That's an absolute tune. So thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. I'm sure you all agree that has set the tone for the evening. So thank you again. Can we just, before we leave, get another round of applause? So next, I am delighted to invite up to the stage Elijah Taha, who is the chair of our Board of Trustees and the president of the Students' Union, who will be offering some opening remarks, reflecting on the year and why this meeting matters so much and how students like you shape the decisions made in our union. So over to Elijah.
Thank you, Vice President, Welfare and Campaigns. I'm just not sure I was going to mention all of that, but thanks for giving me a heads up. Hello, everyone. If I may give a bit of a spoiler, without a bit of a spoiler for next season, next all members meeting, this man here is going to be your president. So if we can hear it for your next president, your tonight's host, current VP Welfare, Ollie. Thank you. Also, I want to say about this all members meeting and the journey we have made to this all members meeting. I was trying to find words to write, but I think I'm just gonna say it's amazing. It's wow. It wows me. Because in the past we are coming from members meetings that didn't have any trace of the meeting, or where an officer would have to role play to be a member of the student body, and to be here with a room full of people and student societies performing, I'm really delighted, and thank you all for coming here today. I also want to thank you to the people who made this possible. James Warney, our VP Democracy and Development. Louise, thank you. Our Director of Membership, and obviously people who had these ideas, like Nick Smith. I want to mention. I'm not sure if Nick Smith is going to hear it, but he came with this revolutionary idea. I would quickly run you through this year and what have I achieved. And I would just like to say, quickly about this year, although you will hear a lot of things in the coming slides and coming sections. If I tell you what have I made possible this year, what have I achieved, what have I done for the SU, how much I have, as to say, fixed the SU, I would say I have done absolutely nothing. But if I tell you how much we have achieved as a team of 7 officers, I would say I would be very confident, and without a shadow of doubt, I would say we have achieved what we dreamt of. We have made this union truly student-led, or we're on the right track to get there. So really, as a team, I thank you all the seven of my team members for this journey, for being on this journey. And while doing that, while transforming the SU, we gave a really hard time to a person here who's looking dashing in his suit, our chief exec Phil, the senior management team and the staff. And let me tell you that there wasn't a time where they were not by our side and where they didn't help us. And they're equally responsible for having such an amazing SU. So thank you all as well. In the end, I would just request if you could put your hands together for my amazing team this year, Louis, Ananya, Manya, and 3 of them who would keep on working tirelessly to make this union truly representative of our student body into next year, Adam, James, and Ollie. Also the amazing staff at the SU, the wonderful students who performed today, and above all of you for being here. So thank you all. Yeah, I guess that's it. No, I guess that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Elijah. Just need to flip my page now, so please bear with me. It takes so long. It's done. Thank you. So we're now going to move on to the first formal item of business this evening, which is the ratification of the minutes from last year's annual student members meeting. To keep this accessible and straightforward, you'll see a summary on the screen. The minutes have previously been uploaded onto the website, and we have some paper copies as well dotted around the room. We'll now ask for a simple yes or no vote on Mentimeter, which should be open on your phones now. We're showing hands. I apologise. I have lied to you all. So, if we're all ready, do we have an abstain option in this vote, just to double check? Okay. So, all those who would like to approve the meeting minutes, please raise your hand now. All those who would not like to approve the meeting minutes, please raise your hand now. And all those who would like to abstain from the vote, please raise your hand now. Cool. Brilliant. Thank you for engaging with our first matter of business this evening. It was very brief, but I really do appreciate it. So next up is our year in review, which is led by Oliver Murray, one of our student trustees. Oliver is an MBCHB student, was previously the president of MedSoc, one of our largest student societies. He's a keen volunteer with Marrow, as you'll see from his hoodie, the registered charity which recruits potential donors to the Anthony Nolan Stem Cell Register, and was newly appointed to our trustee board this year. So I'd like to welcome up Oliver. Please give him a round of applause.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ollie. I promise I didn't know he was going to say those exact words. I did have an event today. I didn't just wear it because of that. So really appreciate it. It's great to be here tonight with you guys. I've joined the board only a few months ago now, but over this time I've seen so much work and effort go into it. The spectacle officer team here are absolutely fantastic. The core staff team as well. And it's been brilliant to see kind of students at every single level engaging with the SU. So thank you guys for all being here tonight. I'm just going to start us off by playing a quick video that kind of recaps things that have occurred in the past year, ranging from kind of societies, groups, and forums. like. Round of applause. Great. So it's wonderful to see all the brilliant things that we've gone up to as a union over this past year. I want to say a special thank you to Martha Coleman, who put together the video. Could I have a round of applause for Martha, please? There you go. Thank you, Martha. Now, it'd be great. We're going to hear from some amazing students and student groups on why being part of the SU has impacted them this year and what highlights they've kind of been up to. So we'll start by calling up Warwick Fencing. So I have Matteo, Stefano, and Abby. Round of applause.
I just wanted to kick this off by saying that when I joined Warwick 4 years ago, there wasn't any internal provision for sport for wheelchair users. And in the last year and a half, we've come on a long way, including creating the first ever integrated provision with the fencing club. And I kind of wanted to set this off as saying that disability sport is really important, not only because you then get access to a social provision that previously wasn't there, and it also creates spaces for disabled students in a way that other hobbies maybe don't, but also because of confidence. People are often discouraged or told they can't do things, and sport creates a safe space in which people can try things, fail, and kind of learn to grow and do technically difficult things. And I've seen a lot of members of the Disabled Student Society transform over the provision that we've kind of gained over the last year and a half. And it was something that I didn't know I was missing in my life until I had it, and it's made a massive impact on me. And I really want to thank mainly these two, but also everybody else who's made everything possible over the past year. So yeah.
Thank you, Abby. It is a wonderful thing to hear, and we absolutely could not have done it alone. We are very grateful to the SU and to the Innovation Fund, which, if you don't know, is the kind of alumni donations fund, for giving us some seed funding to become the first integrated para sport within a club at Warwick. So I'll give a little overview of the project. We started off early in term 2 with sort of dedicated coached sessions. So we started off quite small, just in the multi-purpose room. We bought our own kit with some of the SU and Innovation Fund funding, which is great. And so we've been able to have this provision where it's a fully coached, fully kind of accessible sport, adapted and kind of completely co-created with Warwick Enable. That's the Disabled Student Society. We have tried to make it as welcoming and accessible to everyone as possible. And I think we were pretty successful. We initially had a target of 6 people, which we managed to surpass. We had sort of 8 people regularly engaged with the project and a couple more that dropped in and out, which we're really pleased to see. And we're really pleased that people have continued on to kind of come and join the club, and to get involved with all the rest of fencing and being part of the sports kind of club group in Warwick as a whole. And now we've moved on where our para fencing sessions are within our normal fencing sessions. Our para fencers come to all our kind of regular club activities, and it is kind of a normal part of the fencing session now.
Thanks. And yeah, just reiterating what Matteo said, I don't think we would have been able to do any of this without the support of Warwick Enable at all. I think from the start when we received the grant donation, which is the largest cash injection into any sports club within the SU, we all looked at each other a bit shocked we actually received the full funding. And then a whole load of meetings started off between partners both within the university, the SU, Warwick Sports, and obviously working very closely with Warwick Enable. It's now fully integrated, as Matteo said, into our club. So this means that we've now put on board 2 new para fencing officers with the encouragement that at least one of them has lived experience. And then we're also planning on we've already put it into our constitution. There's a whole area, so then the longevity of the project will not be left behind when people graduate. And then, of course, we also plan on having, we run 2 national competitions a year as a club, and there are already plans in place to put para fencing as soon as possible, likely next year, into at least one of these competitions, and then working towards full integration. And as well, one of our big hopes for Matteo and I particularly is lobbying Bucks, which obviously we've spoken with Lou and a few others to start this process, along with a few other major universities. So yeah, a big thank you to everyone, both SU, Warwick Sport, and everyone involved. But yeah, it's been a really great project. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Brilliant. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for kind of bringing that and sharing kind of your experience and how you feel like the SU has really made kind of a difference this past year. Next up, I'd like to invite Aisha, who's one of our democracy assistants. Round of applause, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Aisha. I'm an international student from India in my final year, and I became a democracy assistant earlier this year in January. And here's a little rundown of my experience working at the SU and what I've gained from it. In the beginning, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect from the role, and once I started, I realized it must have been a pretty hard job to write the job description. This role really is something new each day. You can go from replying to emails, to taking meeting minutes, to practicing rejection therapy, handing out flyers, to walking around campus as a giant duck, all in the same week. Each day, each shift looks different and teaches me something new. Figuring out SharePoint, brainstorming ideas to reach more students, learning to lead with, hey, want a free coffee, instead of have you voted, and more broadly, to collaborate, communicate, and take initiative. While we all learn these skills in some capacity, working at the SU has given me the opportunity to develop them in a supportive, people-focused environment. I've always felt like my ideas are valued and my efforts are appreciated. I may just be part-time student staff, but I still feel like I'm part of the team. Working with Celine, Yota, Kat, and my fellow DAs has been a lovely experience, full of skill sharing, mutual respect, words of encouragement, and growth. But beyond just building skills, being part of the Student Voice team has been personally fulfilling as well. I feel lucky that here, career development and creating meaningful impact can go hand in hand. And lastly, a bit of context. Indian universities don't really have students' unions, at least not in the same sense as in the UK. In India, students' unions are generally politically affiliated and act as pressure groups to influence university management. It's a bit controversial. So when I came to the UK, I was pleasantly surprised to see such engagement in nonpartisan student governance. And I was also very impressed by the genuine passion for student welfare, which is at the heart of the whole organization. And for me, that's a very unique thing to be part of. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Aisha. It's really great to hear about your experience. So important as, there's such a large group of part-time student staff as well. So it's really great that we've got that aspect of things there. Next up, I'd like to invite Olmo from Raw. Round of applause, please.
Hi, yeah, I'm Olmo. I was head of news at Raw last year. Now I'm technical manager, so more involved, and I'm really glad to be. In the last year, we've obviously been involved in the SU a lot. We had the Innovation Fund come through, which was really, really helpful because we were able to refurbish our second studio. So we put sort of industry grade equipment, microphones, sort of software, which is now open to our members, but also societies, alumni, so anyone can come and use it. And we're also sort of developing this into a visuals studio as well, so you can record the obviously visuals for your podcast, and sort of we're pushing it forward, and it's open to everyone, so we're providing a service for everyone to use, not just Raw members, but the whole university and alumni. We also worked with the SU on the big decision, like we have for sort of a long-standing arrangement, and that was really great. We were supported, we had access to the sort of campaign teams, we covered the whole of campaign week, question time, and obviously the big night in the Duck, which was great. It was a really, really good atmosphere. Obviously, the SU facilitated that, and it wouldn't be possible to sort of bring students together like we are here. And I think it's really important to celebrate, and it was a great night. I had a great time. But yeah, we have a sort of long-standing relationship with the SU, and we're really, really grateful for that, and look forward to continuing it.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Olmo. Having that long-standing kind of agreement and arrangement, I think, going forwards as well is really great, especially having that student engagement and input. So thank you for you guys for the work that you do. Next, we're speeding through this. We're making good progress, guys. Next up, I'd like to invite James, who is the chair of steering group.
Yes, hello. I am the current chair of steering group, which is essentially the forum in charge, well, not in charge, but with responsibility for the SU's democracy and governance structures. And we are fully aware that you start talking to the average student about governance structures, and you will quickly find that you are now speaking to yourself. But it is really important, and I've got a couple of examples of the things that we've been up to this year to really emphasise that point. First of all, through my role as chair, I have been part of the governance review group. This is hopefully, fingers crossed, a culmination of a years-long project to rework how governance is done at the union. After 2 external consultations and a lot of controversy, a fully student-led body has come to a report and given their suggestions, which was going to Student Council next week. And it's really emphasised the point of why it's so important that these things can be student-led. Because this is a students' union. That is the most important point. And so when you go away and you consult with a wide variety of the people that you are actually supposed to be representing, you find that you end up with something that's going to actually work for the student body. And you see that, hopefully, again, fingers crossed, when this gets introduced, students will be able to engage with it and see the transparency of the union and why it is working for you. Now, besides of governance review, there's also the incredibly exciting thing that's been going on this year of the policy backlog review, which should strike absolute excitement to you, just hearing the words. However, this is also incredibly important. Policies essentially sum up what the union is all about. Through our policies and stances, it covers issues from the core of education to wider stances across society. And they essentially sum up what the Students' Union wants to achieve moving forward. However, over the years, our policies have had a tendency of being a bit disjointed and more or less forgotten about, with exceptions here and there. But it was very clear that a review was very much in order. Now, I can't take full credit for this. This was proposed by James Varney and actioned by steering group as a whole. However, over the course of a term and a little bit, we reviewed every policy on the union's books. We reworked them. We lapsed some that have been fully completed, showing the legacy that the union actually does achieve a good number of things that are very important to students' lives. Now, we have finished this process now and left with us with about 50 policies that are up to date with the union's current structures and can be taken forward over the next years in a much more effective way. And students can actually look when the website gets revamped onto the tracker and see these things being carried forward and see that they are actually, the people they've elected are actually carrying out their wishes in an entirely transparent way. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but if I've got a couple more minutes, I will mention stuff that I've personally, through my role as just a random forum member, been involved with. We've done other stuff on steering group from the standard of steering policies, but also reviewing bylaw changes. I've proposed a few myself, and these have gone through Student Council onto board to hopefully be ratified, looking at trustees in the room. And it really shows that if you do choose to engage with the union, you can actually make a difference, both within the union itself and within the wider student body. And I think that's something really important. It's really nice to see that these changes can actually occur. So yes, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, James. I mean, as you say, if you speak to, average student, you go out there, you very quickly realize when you talk about these kind of topics, you're not speaking to anybody anymore. They've left. But I think the work that the steering group has done and a lot of the work that you've been involved with as well does really form all the backbone of the SU, and having it be kind of student-led with that side of things is so incredibly important. So thank you very much. Next up, I'd like to invite Ruby and Harry from Disabled Students Officers team. Thank you. Round of applause.
Hello. So my name's Harry. First of all, we've kind of been part of the part-time officers team this year. And I think that a very important point to make is how connected our part-time officer team has been this year. We've all kind of gotten to know each other. We've had a lot of connections with the full-time officer team as well. Specifically, I've been helping with the Disability Council, which is new for this year. We've had the Disability Item Fund previously as a fund for disabled students to access for kind of any items that could basically can be used for accessibility reasons. So these don't require a diagnosis for people to access. We very much want to keep it to a limitation on any justification that people would need to give. Something new about it this year is that we have been able to offer over £50, which was before a limitation that we had. And now we've been, so the reason Disability Council was formed was in order to approve kind of over £50 requests. So in order to form that, we've invited representation from each of the disability societies. So Autism at Warwick, Enable, ADHD, and kind of have been discussing with Yota, who I'd like to give a big thanks to, but I don't think she's here today. But she's been helping me with kind of organising Disability Council. And also big thank you to Raven as well, who's been very consistent in attending. Yeah, so in order to hopefully help contribute to bigger kind of items, such as like wheelchair repairs and things, whereas before we've kind of been limited in very kind of small sensory items, it's I'm really looking forward to continuing to expand what we can offer to disabled students, because there is a huge limitation on like being able to get these things for themselves. And it's fantastic that we've been able to keep it open for 2 terms. And sorry, just looking at my points. We're also hoping to next year kind of expand the council to talk about more SU related disability provisions with disability societies to kind of continue keeping the connection between the SU and the disability societies going, because previously the Disability Item Fund didn't have a lot of connection with the societies. I think it's really, really important that the next DSO next year continues to kind of help facilitate communication between the two, because often there's a lot of things going on in either kind of stream, and it'd be useful to kind of combine efforts even more. But this is a really, really important first step. And yeah, Ruby's going to talk about some other things we've been doing.
Hi, yes, I'm Ruby. Yeah, like Harry said, it's really cool to be able to collaborate and stuff with all of the societies. I think that is a link that's been missing. We've done lots of other stuff this year, which is really cool. We kind of just generally aiming to make the SU a more kind of inclusive space for all students. And a lot of this has come through kind of updating some of the policies through the big policy backlog that James was talking about, and kind of updating and entrenching some kind of fundamental guidelines for how the SU can kind of operate on a day-to-day basis with disabled students in mind. We've created brand new guidance for society execs to run their elections fairly, while also accommodating for specific accessibility needs, and allowing students to kind of run for positions and access societies on their own terms. We've also implemented new resources for student council with a view to making sure students feel empowered to speak up, while working to bring clarity to the governance structure and procedures of the union, which will only kind of expand as the governance review comes into effect. And with the help of a lot of different officers, thank you so much to all the FTOs that kind of supported us throughout this year. We're now working to do a few other things, like set some baseline inclusion standards for kind of all SU meetings, which will hopefully ensure that all participants can feel welcomed and know how to access SU spaces, knowing that their needs will be prioritized at the same time. So yeah, we're really grateful to all the staff that have kind of helped us get all of our ideas and stuff in motion this year. And hopefully everything else will be kind of continued. And yeah, we can work really closely with lots of different students from lots of different areas of the union and the university. So yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of end on, I think we're really looking forward to kind of what the next DSO is going to be getting up to. And I think there's some really important routes that we've gotten down this year for hopefully more expansion with the SU. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. I think, it's really come across what you both are saying. I think the work you both have done has made a real kind of tangible difference to students in the disabled student community. So thank you both. Next up, I'd like to invite Sophie, who is chair of Sustainability Forum.
Yeah, so Sustainability Forum has been really proactive this year. We've kind of restructured how it works.
And we've kind of sat at the interface between student activities and staff activities throughout the year. So I'm going to talk a bit about each of them. On the staff side of things, we've supported staff in both marketing strategies and business proposals throughout the year. We've continued to sit on action groups, ensuring that a student voice is heard in every sustainable decision made across campus. Additionally, we've helped with a variety of things, such as we've officially got a permanent sustainability space on campus next year. And we helped to achieve this by sending forms out to students to hear their voice on how they could use a collaborative space to work with staff, which is really amazing and a massive win. Another thing we've been working on promoting is the donation drive at the end of the year. If you can volunteer to help with the process, please do. One of the biggest things which we've worked on the staff side of things is the LEAF proposal. So LEAF essentially is a lab efficiency assessment framework. It was created by UCL and it holds departments and labs accountable for their efficiency within the lab process by ranking them on a scale of bronze to gold. And before, when at the start of the year, the staff in charge of it, Sam Shaw, she came to me and she said she was quite frustrated because a lot of the departments weren't really considering it because they'd have to have extra staff and extra resources for it. So we as a forum discussed it and created small action groups along with some course reps and Sam herself. And we met with each department which we were trying to target, discussed it and proposed it. And now we have 5 departments which got signed up this year, when previously only chemistry was signed up, which means that efficiency frameworks will be implemented in WMG, engineering, physics, life sciences and psychology as of the end of this year, which is amazing. On the student side of things, we've kind of tackled things in a variety of mediums. We've tried to increase climate literacy and sustainability awareness through things like giving talks at international university exchange series, running podcast episodes, writing board articles, policy backlog, as James has done, we've helped with some of the sustainability ones, and writing an AI policy, which we're in the process of marketing. Additionally, we've run our own events. I don't know if anyone got out on Friday to the May Day fair, which we had on campus. We've been having frequent meetings with Becca, and we planned and ran our own event in accordance with May Day, which was an academic panel and a movie screening supplied by the SLS Department for Life Sciences on circular economy, which was amazing. And additionally, our biggest highlight of the year, the thing which we worked towards, was Green Week. Green Week was an idea which we came up with as a way to market the £5,000 which we have each year to give to students who are passionate about SDG projects so that they can do their passion projects, and also just to excite students about sustainability on campus. And during the week, we ran a course of events. We had 22 societies in collaboration, several departments, 5 external companies, speakers. There was a big variety of events. If I go into details of it, we'll be here all day. But essentially, we had 400 students on just our first year of running this week. So I really hope that it continues. And also enabled us to have a space where we could directly speak to students who care about sustainability. And we managed to get the first applications for our £5,000 in the past few years as a result. So we're meeting tomorrow to discuss and approve some of them. So it's really amazing. I feel like we've really changed the structure of it and made a difference this year. I'm really proud of everyone in the forum and all the work everyone's put in throughout. And I hope future forums for sustainability will take on and represent what the SU stands for in the best way possible. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sophie. I don't know about you guys, but I think it was just inspiring hearing about all the progress, all the projects that Sustainability Forum has made over this past year. So big thank you to you and the whole team. And now, last but not least, I'd like to invite Dami up from Africa Summit.
Ooh. Hi, everybody. My name is Dami Adebuji. I am this year's president of Warwick Africa Summit. I will try my best to try and keep it succinct and punchy, but I have a feeling that the 3 minutes definitely feels a lot shorter when you're up here. So on the 28th of February and the 1st of March, we hosted over 400 students, academics, distinguished guests, professionals in their fields, and members of the wider public for our flagship event, which is the Warwick Africa Summit 2026.
We covered topics such as tech, art, economics, and more. This year was particularly special as it marked 10 years of the Africa Summit. Many of you may not know that due to a number of unforeseen challenges, our annual summit last year didn't take place. For a society like ours, that was a significant loss, as the summit is at the heart of what we do. Because of that, it became incredibly important to us that the summit returned this year, and I'm proud to say that it did. We had the honor of welcoming 3 keynote speakers: Dr. Mahmoud Mahildin, UN Special Envoy on Financing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, former Minister of Investment of Egypt, and former World Bank Group Senior Vice President for the 2030 Development Agenda. Whew, what a title. We also welcomed Fola Komolafe, CEO of World Vision UK, which is the world's largest children charity, and Ms. Nazifo Shabalala, CEO and founder of Conversation Strategists. Of course, this was alongside many other fantastic speakers and panelists who made the summit what it was. This was all accomplished without a vice president and severely limited funding and a changeover of secretary and treasurer throughout the year. None of this would have been possible without the support and guidance that we received, especially from our society's coordinator, Caitlin, who went above and beyond to help and make sure this event could happen this year. I actually did bring a little gift for her, but I don't think she's here. I'll give it to her another time. As the summit is not restricted to Africans, we do hope to continue growing, welcoming more diverse audiences, including those that may not typically attend African-focused events, and building even larger summits in the future with continued support from the Students' Union. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dami. I think it's amazing to hear about, despite the circumstances and committee, you still were able to kind of go through with everything and bring the summit back. So thank you for all your work. I think that's everything from me, guys. Can I just get one final round of applause for all the fantastic students, please? And now I'll hand back over to Ollie. My job is done.
Thank you, Oliver. Again, thank you all for leading that section. That was a brilliant display of everything that the SU's done this year, or at least the few things that have been mentioned here. It's hearing things like that makes doing this job so much more enjoyable, and it's the value that we find in the job. I think all of the officers would agree with that, hearing things like that. And especially hearing the things that we perhaps don't just get to speak to our colleagues about as well. I didn't know that some of the support that had happened there, so it's great to hear it now. And I'm really proud of the SU for helping with all those things, and I'm even more proud of all the students that just presented on those points. So thank you. So on to our next statutory item, and it's an important one, everyone. So buckle up, and let's get into the finances of the union. Ooh. You'll hear a transparent explanation of our income, spending and reserves, and I believe there'll also be a little quiz at the end, so keep those ears peeled. And with prizes as well, so definitely keep those ears peeled. I'm sure that they'll make it as fun and informative as they can, so I'm going to welcome up now James Vaughan, who's our Vice President for Democracy and Development, and Piers Clinton Tyrestad, who is one of our lay trustees. So please give them a round of applause as they come up today.
Hi, I hate to disappoint everyone, but on the good news is, we're not going to bore you with the finances any longer than necessary because there is no quiz. On the downside, there's no prizes, so, But yeah, these are accounts for the financial year 2024 to 25. The purpose of the sort of next 10 minutes or so is to give you all a brief understanding of how the SU's finances put together and how we performed in the period August 2024 to July 2025, which I'm pleased to say is relatively well. Just some context before we begin. The first thing to note is that these accounts, which will be published on the website before the end of July, are group accounts. This means that they are contributions from both university funding and commercial activities, but they also include the accounts of our subsidiary companies. We have these. This is primarily done because it allows us to treat VAT more effectively, so we have more money to put back into you guys, basically. And in the case of MSL, which is the company that we own that does back-end software for us use, if anyone in here is a Global Society exec member, you will have dealt with MSL a lot. And it allows that necessary separation to allow MSL to have its own structure. And yeah, as I said, the accounts relate to the 2024-25 FTA team. And sorry, my notes are playing up, so give me 1 second. We currently undertake our external audit in the period November to February. So this is the earliest time you can present these accounts. So it will feel a bit outdated for that reason. But in the future, hopefully this will be improved. Piers, do you want to take us through our external audit?
So external audit's been appointed. We've got a new external auditor in Danes Audits. The first year they're doing that. It's been appointed for a 3-year contract. And the point of an external audit is to give an independent view of our finances, have somebody come in and check that we're doing them properly.
Yep. And yeah, Danes have an excellent, we've both dealt with them aboard. So yeah, no, and Danes basically had nothing but good things to say about us. To explain our income, this is a breakdown of basically how we get our money, the money that we've eventually gone to spend on you guys. Our annual grant from the University of Warwick was just over £3.3 million in the 2024-25 year, with an additional 257k restricted grant for Bucks costs. If any of you think that grant is too low, our eminent Vice Chancellor is sat in Radcliffe having drinks. So if anyone afterwards would like to go and very politely beg him for more money, I recommend that you do so. Or I would like you to do so, so I'd like some more money. Anyway, restricted grants, such as the ones for Bucks and also the Innovation Fund, are used for the specific uses, some of which we saw earlier. In the year prior to the current one, Innovation Fund funded, for example, the Free Breakfast Club, which has been very successfully continued by Ollie, and events such as the Langar celebration, which have been very successfully continued by everyone, including the university. We also have almost £4 million in income from our bars, events, and catering activity, which again, I'm sure lots of you will have spent time in the Duck, T-Bar, and Curio, and you'll probably spend more time in there, especially Curio, revising for your upcoming exams. And actually, I'm really happy to say that this is bucking the trend across the sector. Generally, people are seeing their level of income from bars and alcohol, etc., trend down as students drink less. But actually, at Warwick, we've really bucked that trend. We're actually really bucked that trend, and we're actually having students drink more and more, go to pop more and more, and actually get more coffee from Curio and all that good stuff. This is also where federation fees are included, so all the sports federation fees that you pay and all the societies federation fees that you pay go into this, although Adam and Lou, we're hoping that's not for much longer, which are then dispersed to support both society and club activity. We also received gift aid income from our subsidiary companies to the total of about £350,000, bringing our total income for the 2024-25 year to a grand total of £9 million, £284,126. Our subsidiary companies are MSL, as I've mentioned, software, and then also Suswoo, which is our non-charitable trading arm. So whenever we host conferences in SU Atrium, it goes in there, basically. And also the pool tables aren't charitable, according to HMRC. So yeah, when you guys play pool, it goes through some weird route and then gets back to us eventually. That was the fun bit, our costs. So the largest costs to the SU are staff, and associated costs involved in operating the union is, as you can probably expect, not a cheap charity to run. It's basically similar to most other SUs though. We have around 80 career staff and over 200 student staff, some of which are here today. We also pay rent on SU South, so the Atrium building. We technically pay rent on the other building, the one above the co-op, but we pay £1 a year to the university, so that is a rather meagre amount. We also pay for our Bucks and NUS affiliations, which will be covered later in the meeting. Piers, do you want to summarise this slide?
So if you look at what we've done against our budget from a operating trading activity, we're up and £94,000 compared to would be. If you look at the gift aid contribution, that's up £24, offset by MSL down 40, which gives us a total surplus arising of 178 versus the budget we set at the start of the year, which is a great outcome for the year.
Yeah, so we budgeted a £210,000 overspend from reserves, which was to fund the cost of refurbishing Terrace Bar, which I'm sure you all enjoyed in the last year and a half, and also some specific SU staff posts, so another student voice coordinator, another societies coordinator, which I'm sure many of you will have benefited from. But actually, we overperformed massively on our budget, as Piers said, and so actually we are only posting ourselves a £32,000 loss. But actually, considering the board agreed to finance a £210,000 loss, it's pretty good going all around. The pension. This is the really boring bit. You thought the finances were boring. The pension's a whole other thing. You know, let's be honest, most of us, by the time the government increases the pension age, will never even see a pension. So this is largely irrelevant. When the accounts are published in July, you'll be able to see a large adjustment on the balance sheet relating to the pension arrangements. Until June 2025, we were the second largest liability in an old pension scheme known as the Students' Union Superannuation Scheme, or SUS. Very funny. This scheme closed in 2011, but we actually still had a large legacy liability to pay out to people that were involved in the scheme, basically. And that relates to the shortfall in what the fund was expected to be versus what it actually was. This summed to about £6.7 million. Oh, come on. Oh, this room isn't it's very much enough to laugh at sus, but not enough to laugh at 6-7. Come on, guys. Our annual payments for 23-24 were about £400,000 a year. So that's money that, you know, we get from you guys and from the university that actually just goes straight out of service of debt, which is largely pointless. And actually the repayments on that were due to rise to over £900,000 by 2037. And there was another risk related to the fluctuating value of the fund, which would have meant we could have paid even more, basically. The trustee board at the time was well aware of that risk, and the financial impact on the SU, and other unions were exploring an exit from the scheme by sort of buying out their version of liability, so fronting a big upfront cost. But as we don't have that kind of upfront money, the only other option was to do a loan, and the university was kind enough to grant us a loan to enable to pay off that and exit the scheme. So rather than owing money to SUS, we now owe money to the university, basically. I'm now looking at Phil to see if Phil's going to tell me off. Excellent. So basically, that allowed us to fix the liability at a consistent level, so there's no risk of paying sort of £900,000 a year. It's stuck at a flat rate, and also pay it off 2 years earlier, so we absolutely save money in the long run. So the accounts show that difference in the value of what we could have paid to SUS versus what we actually will pay to the university. But that is just an accounting trick. We do not have an extra millions in the bank. So for any of you looking to be an FTO in future years, please do not put on your manifesto, I'm going to use the millions in the SU bank account to pay for whatever. Yeah, we don't have it, guys. Sorry. I wish we did. For the reasons why we took the loan on the university, we don't have any other assets that we own. You know, we own MSL is a company that we could have leveraged, but it doesn't have the value. And so realistically, the university was the only other source of funds for this project. It leaves the union with a manageable liability and debt with our major stakeholder, who already, who already are our biggest funder anyway. So, we have a good relationship with the university. Again, feel free to grab Scroft outside. The trustees generally felt at the time that this was a prudent decision to safeguard the financial health of the charity and keep the SU running and delivering all the great services that we all rely on. And that's just a bit more context. So yeah, the liability on paper is 1.238 million, but again, there's not cash that we have on hand. We cannot use that to eliminate the sports fed fee, eliminate the socks fed fee. Give fencing another, £100,000, unfortunately, as much as we might like to. Cool. If I go to our reserves, we want to talk us through our reserves.
So reserves is the money that we've got left at the end of the year. So we've got unrestricted cash reserves of 925 grand in the bank, and then we've got £1 million roughly, which is held for clubs and societies, which is a healthy position to be in at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So that money that we hold for clubs and societies we can't touch, that is basically just the cumulative money that you guys have in your bank accounts. Which we do. We essentially act as a bank account for all the clubs and societies. Reserves can't be used for sort of day-to-day operating costs. We can't dip into those to sort of cover, consistent staff posts. But for example, the refurbishment of the terrace bar is a good example. And we've used the reserves this year to fund other projects, of which the board papers haven't been published yet, so I can't tell you about them, but they are very exciting. And you'll see them eventually when the minutes are released. Financial stability. Do you want to talk us through this?
Yeah, well, my day job, I studied chartered accounting at Warwick 25 years ago. I've been doing it for 25 years, so this is really important to me. So getting a unqualified opinion from the external audit means they've been through the books for the first year with Danes, give us a clean bill of health, and that's really important to give confidence in the accounts. We do rely on funding from the University of Warwick every year. The point's been made, go outside and ask for more, please. But we have agreed that. Going forward, and they've continued to say that they will continue funding for the future, which is nice, as they have done for the last 60 years plus. So that's great to see. And trading performance, James touches, is great considering the broader economic circumstances, actually. So a lot to be positive about. I think the university is in a stable position from a student union perspective.
Yeah, definitely. One of the plans that we're kind of trying to do with the university is to work towards a 5-year funding settlement. So rather than having our funding approved every year in about November, way past when we actually need it, it'd be really nice if the university, again, go on Ashcroft, could actually give us that funding 5 years in advance and then increase 5 years in advance, and then we know how much exactly we're going to be budgeting with rather than doing it every year. I think that's it. But if anyone has any specific questions about the finances, me and Piers, Piers is definitely the expert. I'm going to pretend to be the expert. But if you have any general questions about the performance of the board, please leave those for the later section about questions to trustees. Oscar.
So when it says that the university's level of funding will stay until 2030, does that mean the grant will continue to be frozen? Will it raise in real terms, or is there opportunities to increase it?
where does it say that it'll remain stable till 20?
That's one.
Yeah. Funny, at least that current level. We would love a block grant increase. I don't think there's anyone here that does not want apart from Croft next door, that doesn't want the SU to have more money. But yeah, no, the university, as far as I'm aware, is committed to at least giving us that base level of funding for the next until 2030. But yeah, it's definitely sort of one of our priorities to continue to maintain the financial health of the SU by having a higher block grant.
I mean, one thing I'd say from an external perspective, I think part of getting that funding is relationship with the university and the confidence they've got in the team of SOs. And I think from what I can see, with Phil and the SO team we've got, I think we're in a strong position. So we should continue to push.
Anyone else on questions? Oscar again.
When it says that other universities have had similar pension payoffs, does it mean that they've got a loan from their institution, and is their institution charging them interest?
Yeah, so I mean, this varies like really massively university by university. So I know at least one university, I believe, has had a commercial loan. So went to a bank and was like, "Can we have a loan for this amount?" And they went, "Yeah, sure." We didn't have the assets to leverage and go and do that. A very common thing is for universities to offer a kind of very similar loan arrangement to what we've got. This is like relatively standard for universities looking to exit SUS. I think at least one university that was just kind enough to pay it off for their SU. But trying to get Croft and Rosie Drinkwater to part with 5 million of cash. There's lots of many other difficult things I'd rather do first. So yeah, basically, I would have loved for the university just to pay it off, but we don't live in a land or a political and economic environment where they are just giving out £5 million loans for free. So yeah, I'll take that as well.
I was just going to say another decision is that the members of SUS are jointly and severally liable for the pension. So again, as one of the large people in that fund, you could become liable for the entire liability of SUS, which would put the SU in a very challenging place in the future as well.
I'll go. You're an officer of Trustees. I'll go James first, and then Louis.
I was just going to say, I think the deal we managed to get pretty short notice was a really positive one. It was a really good example of the actual university working to support the issue and its long-term sustainability.
Yeah, thanks, Louis. I think you were there at the time, so James.
How does Warwick University's work compare to other similar universities in the sector?
I'm going to do a Jose Mourinho and say if I speak, I'm in big trouble, and I do not want to be in big trouble. No. I would say that our grant on paper is quite generous, or at least is fairly reasonable. I think what you got to look at is the fact that from our grant, we then pay them £500 a year or £400 a year in repayments. We then go and pay them another sort of combined £500k for rent and utilities on SU South, when most of the SUs don't pay rent for their own building. And then there is also the same with our block grant has not really increased since about 2015, and certainly not in line with inflation, certainly not in line with student numbers. So I think, speaking personally, I think there's probably a long way to go on our block grant in terms of increasing it. But yeah, again,
If you're going to get in trouble, I will do as well. I said I did take a look at student numbers 25 years ago when I was here and plotted what that's increased versus the grant, and I would agree we should be continuing to ask for more generous and keep making that case.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Otherwise, half the room will go to sleep. Cool. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James and Piers. As someone who before this year knew less than nothing about finance, I think you explained that in a very accessible way, so thank you for that. We're now going to move on to our affiliations approval, and that is again led by James Varney. James is going to explain what affiliations are, why they matter, outline our current affiliations, and then open up to a student vote to approve them. So James, over to you again.
The clicker. Oh, excellent. Oh, you've given me a laser pointer. This is very dangerous. Hi everyone, I'm back. Warwick SU is affiliated to...
I'm so sorry.
Not my VP Sports. Warwick SU is affiliated to a number of organisations to help achieve our charitable objectives. As per the Education Act and our articles, these must be ratified annually. Any affiliation which is not approved today will go to a referendum in term 1 next year. We'll be considering the affiliations. Ooh, on the board here. I'm going to give a quick overview of what each organisation is and what they do for the SU. And After I do that, anyone can put their hands up, any student member can put their hands up and raise a point in favour or against any particular organisation and our affiliation to them. And then we're going to move to a vote. Well, really without further ado, Advice UK costs us £480 a year. It supports advice organisations. So for the SU context, it's the Advice Centre with, difficult cases or just general sort of how they operate and how they run. AQS, which is Advice Quality Standard, again, as you'd expect, is related to the Advice Centre. It's an accreditation scheme, which we actually achieved last year, which was a really big step forward for the Advice Centre, and it gives feedback and recommendations to the Advice Centre as well. BUCS, Louis, BUCS is the British Universities and Colleges of Sport, and it's the national governing body for sport and higher education in the UK. Our affiliation fee enables us to take part in competitions, and I'm sure lots of other things, as Louis will be able to describe. Coventry and Warwickshire Chamber of Commerce actually sponsored the event that I got this t-shirt at, which was We Are Back Live. Any Coventry City fans? Oliver? There we go. But actually, what it actually does for the SU for students is it's a professional body for businesses in the local area, gives us some professional services advice and also some networking opportunities for enable to build business connections across Coventry and Warwickshire. The National Council of Voluntary Organisations, or NCVO, is the umbrella body for the voluntary and community sector in England. It supports us on governance and advice, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about governance from James already tonight. NUS UK is the political wing of the National Union of Students. Membership enables us to take part in their elections and take part in their campaigning efforts. I'm sure some of you would have seen NUS's campaigns recently. NUS Charity is the Oscar, you can do them at the end. NUS Charity is the charitable arm of the NUS, which gives us access to discounted procurement. So your pints are cheaper in T-Bar for food and drinks. So your burgers are also cheaper in the Duck, and also gives us elections advice. So, for example, our spring officer elections were ratified by the returning officer. We get our returning officer from NUS Charity, and they also give us help on our governance as well. And then finally, last but not least, UK CISA, which is the UK Council for International Student Affairs, supports international students and the organisations that work with them. Again, particularly the Advice Centre, with advice such as issues on visas, right to work, etc. Now, going to take any comments, and then we'll move to a vote on Menti. So, Oscar.
When you say NUS UK lets us take part in our elections, were our delegates able to attend the conferences this year, or were they banned? Were they allowed to vote?
So this year, NUS changed the rules on who can be an NUS delegate. So rather than in the past, you might have experienced NUS delegate elections across campus with anyone being able to stand and vote. NUS in the most recent year restricted that to only be able to be people who already hold an elected role within their SU. So often the sabbatical officers this year, I actually can't remember who we chose as NUS reps, sorry. But we did not elect to attend their conference, I think because of timing reasons and because, in fact, no, our NUS reps was me and Nanya, Ollie and Lillian, actually, I believe. But we did not, in the end, attending the NUS conference, partially because of the cost and partially because it would have taken a lot of time out of our day doing other things, quite frankly. But yeah, in terms of Oscar's referring to the fact that some people were banned, that was people were banned from Lead and Change, which is NUS's sort of leadership development and networking conference. Please read the ball for more details. I'm going to go with James.
Can you just clarify the difference between affiliating to NUS and NUS Charity? Can you do one and not the other?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can absolutely do one but not the other. I believe there's a small discount on one of the fees if you affiliate to the other. Forgive me, I can't quite remember. I think it's just it's a package deal, isn't it? So, but yeah, you absolutely can affiliate to one, not the other. I would say almost all SUs are members of NUS Charity. Not all SUs are members of NUS UK. So it's rare that you'd be affiliated to UK but not Charity. But it's not infrequent that you'd be affiliated to Charity and not UK, for example. But yeah, all of these affiliations we're going to vote on separately, by the way. You're not going to be voting on the full list. Anyone else if we were to vote? Oscar again.
Right, I am going to deliver my pitch to disaffiliate from NUS UK. I think we should stay affiliated to NUS Charity, avoidance of doubt, cheap pints, certification of elections, both equally exciting. They actually do all the things we want from NUS for about a fifth of the cost. I'm not sure what that 30 grand is paying for. And then the small things it does pay for, they ban our representatives from attending, from gaining from it. as James said, it's becoming increasingly common for universities, FQs to disaffiliate. And I think we need to get behind it, because what could that 30k go to? We've heard all the great things societies are doing, all the great things our forums are doing. I don't know why we're sending 30k to a nest of an organisation that we disaffiliated from a couple of years ago and then re-affiliated to, that bans our reps, when we could pay it for SOX grants, we could pay it for anything.
Let's go. We have only a small amount of time. Thank you. Does anyone else want to say anything else on the matter of any of the other affiliations? Otherwise, I'm going to go to a vote. Excellent. Yeah, everyone who's a student member, including officers, you can have a vote.
Just to clarify, if we reject it here, it goes, it's not ending the affiliation, it goes to a...
Yeah, it would trigger a referendum in the next ASV window, which is in term 1 next year. Is anyone still voting? No problem if you are. I'll just... Okay. I don't know whether to ask for a drum roll. Are people feeling a drum roll or no? No? Let's just go straight into it. Advice UK? Excellent. Is there another one? Is there the one next one that everyone's particularly looking forward to? Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. That ends our rather formal part of the All Members meeting, and hand over back to Ollie.
Thank you, James, and thanks everyone for voting and participating in that section. So I do promise we are going to feed you soon. The food is on its way. But first, one of the most important parts of the evening is our open questions to the Board of Trustees. So trustees, we've had an open form on our website for the last week and for any student to pre-submit a question, but essentially this space is intentionally open and accessible for anyone in the room to ask questions of trustees. I think, are we just going to do sort of people ask the question? We're not going to take mics around necessarily. Oh, it's on Menti as well. I apologise. So we're going to do the same way we did the last section, essentially. And I'm going to hand very swiftly back over to James. He's back. He's with you.
Third time's the charm. I am back. Could Louise, you have a pre-submitted question on hand for me? In fact, I have it actually on Teams, so give me a second. I'll ask it to myself and then delegate it to another member of the team. From a student online, verbatim, it's all well and good cutting the Societies Federation fee in the name of affordability for students, but surely this would result in funding cuts for societies. What will the SU do to ensure that societies have access to sufficient funding in light of real terms SOX Fed fee cuts? I think Adam, our Vice President for Society, is probably best placed to answer this question. So Adam, you could come to the front and take this one.
That's a very good question. If you've been looking in the last few years, there has been every year a cut in the Societies Federation fee for the last 3 years, I believe. And there has also been an increase in the Society's grants funding alongside that. As you've seen, some of our current budgeting keeps resulting in us making a lot less loss than we planned to. And there's improvements coming in how we plan budgets and things. So there's no reason to see that wouldn't continue and that we can cut the Federation fees further without cutting the grants.
Cool. Right, Adam, stay here because this is the one for you as well. Can we get a new SU minibus?
Theoretically, yes, but it would be very expensive, and there are more, particularly with insurance concerns, maintenance, and so on. And there are probably far better ways we can spend our money to support societies and sports clubs than a minibus.
Everything Adam said, but also more. We used to have a minibus scheme within the university, and it led to one of our student groups getting into a very significant amount of debt. when they crashed it, not only were they then liable for the insurance premium, but they were also liable for time off the road when we rented it, etc. So, you know, we'd either have to pay a huge amount of money to buy one ourselves, insure it ourselves, even if we were used to an external company to do that for us, then there's a huge amount of financial risk within that too. So that's why that doesn't happen anymore.
Cool. Thank you, Louis and Adam. I'll let people submit them online because I hope people are. I see someone furiously typing, so I hope that's a long question. Thank you, VP Tech Support. We've now answered that one. Oh, excellent. Here we go. Is the Board of Trustees worried about the level of participation in student democracy, both voting in FTA and PT elections, and the number of people standing? If no one objects, I'm going to take this one myself, as a VP for democracy. I think, I don't want to speak for the whole board, but overall, I think no. We see in this year was a record number of people voting on the spring officer elections, 6,870. We had a target of 7,000, so we almost met our target, but even then that target was really ambitious. I think, again, we saw like really competitive races. So we had literally races decided by like less than 5 votes. I think we had 3 races that were decided by less than 5 votes overall. So look, you know, number of people standing was really competitive. For president, you know, we had like 5 really serious candidates with proper manifestos. And I think, yeah, you look at the quality of manifestos and pledges across all the roles. And I think you'll see that was done really well. And Anya, do you want to come up and say a bit more? Come up. You're a trustee.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to add on that. Obviously, it doesn't mention that, but obviously the participation in our democracy in terms of summer elections and course rep positions is a bit disheartening. So I would encourage you all, if you can, to maybe apply or nominate yourself to be a faculty representative or course rep. It looks very good on your CV, and you get to actually be a part of a lot of really interesting decision-making spaces in the university. And if you decide not to nominate, please vote or encourage your friends to nominate. I just basically use this question as a plug. So
Excellent. No, you did the plug ahead of me. Cool. Thank you. What can we do to endorse? I'm just going to clarify. Generally, this is should be our questions about the trustees in terms of their performance and the board's performance. So this is sort of more of a operational political question. I will get back to you on this. I've been doing a lot with Stagecoach, but I don't want to like take up too much time on sort of like operational political stuff. But yeah. Can place Renate Benugo with spoons? Alas, not our problem, unfortunately. Again, pardon? Oh, did I? Here we go. Okay, cool. Why do sports clubs not receive the kickback from the 20% of VAT back when we submit our invoices? Louis, you might not know the answer. I'm going to be complete. So there are questions that we might not be able to answer today. This is good. I'm going to flag this one as one that we're going to answer afterwards. So I'm going to leave this as unanswered. I'm going to publish the answers to all the questions, but as well as this one on the website afterwards. This is a technical question beyond our remit now. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one. What will be done about the significant Bucks funding cuts that have happened this year? Louis, if you'd like to come up.
Yes, that one I do feel like an answer. What will be done? So the cuts needed to happen because our level of funding compared to the spend has not kept pace with each other for particularly the last few years. Now we've therefore, at the behest of the board, made significant changes to our processes to allow our spend to more accurately reflect the income that we receive for Bucks here. At the same time, we've also been doing a lot of work around lobbying the university for more money. There's been a big difference to how we've done it this year. Previously, we've always looked back. So we've said last year we spent X amount of money and there's a deficit of Y, and therefore there's a big difference. We've never done any sort of real looking forward. So what's our goal within Bucks? Where do we want to be within Bucks? What sort of activity do we want to support with Bucks? Which students and how many students do we want to support with Bucks activity? And we've never had a multi-year settlement on that. So there's been a lot of work. Director of Support, Mark Hyman's been fantastic for supporting that. We're now looking at how we can prepare our bucks spend for a longer term over a 5-year period with a continuous financial settlement. We've also asked bigger strategic questions of the university over what they want to support. Now, we're very sure that at the very least, we want to maintain our current position, if not improve it. But, you know, the university needs to decide fundamentally what it wants to support, because we can't support previous years of activity on the amount of money we now receive. So what will be done? I'm not sure I can answer that specific phrasing, but we continue to work within the remit set to us by the university and by our board of trustees as well. And yeah, we continue to make sure that our students get the best possible opportunity to compete within sporting experience in Bucks programs at Warwick University. The active wellness to sport strategy is very, very, very strong, that every student should be able to perform to the level that they want to during their time at university, and we are fully committed to that. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, you joined.
Did that answer the question you were asked? Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Most students engage with the SU primarily through societies and clubs, but the SU regulations are so tight that a lot of groups blatantly ignore them to no SU enforcement. Will this be worked on? As someone who has worked on a lot of regulations this year, I could answer this, but I feel like our VP for Societies, who's done a lot of the regulations with me, might be also well placed to answer this. So Adam, could you come up to the front?
This is a great question. So one of them big thing, there's sort of two parts to this. Firstly is that in a lot of the cases, some of SU regulations have been too tight. And it's kind of an ongoing process to sort of question every single rule we have in place and see, does that actually need to exist? And so we've been working through trying to make it clearer and reducing some of the restrictions over time. The other part of it is for sort of enforcement. This year, we have been increasing how we enforce rules. It's the first time that we've actually reviewed all of the proof of election documents that societies have been submitting over the last few years. So that's a big change. There's been a few cases where groups have been breaking regulations deliberately, where we have fined them, which hasn't happened in the past. And through increasing enforcement and showing the societies that don't sort of play ball, that they're there for a reason, we can make it more fair, so that everyone's on the same playing field, because until now, it's kind of felt like for groups that are doing everything are sort of being punished, because for ones who don't, had no consequences for this. So the rules generally do exist for a reason. And yeah, always happy to explain any sort of weird rules and things when people do have queries, because it's a lot easier to be able to answer and explain, okay, this is why this is here, here's how we can work around it, to work with groups to make sure they can do what they're trying to do, rather than just hearing SU regulations bad, because usually there is a reason behind things, and where there isn't, we can probably get rid of that rule.
And within a more supporting context as well, we've done a large review of all of our supporting delivery this year, and we found 8 major burning platforms, which in plain English just means massive risks we're running with effectively. 1 to 7 are all operational risks, so things around coach management, financial transparency, etc. But risk number 8 in it is club workarounds. So in areas where our processes, our procedures, our side isn't as good as it needs to be, then our clubs, because sometimes they need to go and find a workaround around that, right? So we know a lot of our clubs have external bank accounts that don't go through our systems. And the reason those have originated is because there have been periods we're trying to get financial transactions through our bank system at times has been really, really hard too. So, when some of those ones, there are the examples that Adam raised where people just blatantly go around our rules, and obviously we've got to stand on that. But then there are also some where we're really committed to improving our processes to make them much easier to follow, and to basically get rid of the excuse that people have. And once we're in that position, then we'll be able to be a lot more firm with supporting our clubs how we need to.
Cool, thank you both. And not to really drag this answer on, but I'm going to give a short piece as well. I'd really encourage everyone to actually read the SU rules and regulations. I know that sounds really fun, but I remember from being on club and society, well, from society execs and people going, oh, the SU says this, the SU says we can't do this. And then I kind of actually then got into this role and I actually probably read the rules and I was like, that's just actually not true. Like the SU does not have a rule against various other things. Like as an example, just in general SU regulations, me and James through steering group this year done a rewrite of our bylaw 7, which is our elections bylaw, and we cut that by 25%, for example. So, you know, this is something that we are actively working on. And yeah, we'd definitely encourage people to give them a read, especially Adam's updated exec resources, which now look very nice. Oh, that's all later. Are we liaising with First Bus? As far as my First Bus don't run any services locally. Stagecoach, yes. And yeah, like I'm going to skip this one because this is like operational stuff, but the answer is yes. Will Society Forum be re-given the power to disaffiliate societies? Adam societies, would you like to come up to the front?
No.
Just so everyone knows how they can get involved, though. Our bylaws are amendable. Any student can submit something or make a change to amend the bylaws. This is in the bylaws that this is not power that Society Forum has, but it in theory could be if both Student Council, Societies Forum, and the Board of Trustees agreed. So, you know, on anything, please submit changes that you want to see in your issue. This one keeps going up. Will the society accreditation scheme be changed to allow for smaller societies to be able to achieve gold? Adam, sorry. You should just stand up here with it.
Yes, this year we have reduced the requirement so now you can now not get slightly more of a criteria. We do believe that the current criteria for gold are achievable by all societies, and as I've said at Exec Welcome and continue to say, we are always welcome for more suggestions for criteria and things that are more achievable to try and get as many groups involved as possible.
Amazing, thank you. What are you doing to help students with the current cost of living crisis apart from the Breakfast Club? Mr. Ollie Chapman, would you like to come up?
Thank you, James. So just a slight thing, because this people in the room that know me will know I'm very precious about this. It's actually called the Eat Well Hub. So, you know, I'm only joking, of course. It is basically the Free Breakfast Club. In terms of the cost of living crisis, personally, in my role, obviously, I'm always looking for ways we can introduce new initiatives and schemes to help with this. We have obviously various funding pots available. Some of the other campaigns I've done this year, and one of the priorities we set as a collective office team as well, was to fill in the gaps, sort of, you know, in those areas where students are trying to seek guidance, which often comes with a cost. So things that I've run this year, like Menstrual Health Day, free STI test, and we're aiming to fill in those gaps where possible. Obviously, there is a limited amount we can do at times, but we're always looking for new ideas. And I think as much as I could answer it here, I'm also going to take this one away because I'd like to collate more about this, come back to you with a list of what we are doing. But also anyone, I mean, especially the person that asked this question, but anyone in the room, one thing that the officers will know is I'm always open to ideas on anything. Some of the ideas I've done this year have been brought to me by student groups, the same with the other officers. If you're a student group, a society, a club, and you have a campaign idea, an initiative idea, just a project, some event you want to run, if we have the capacity to help you with that, that's something we're absolutely willing to do. It's personally been my favorite part of the job, is having student ideas and see them flourish by helping them, by connecting people in the SU, my colleagues to students and student groups. So I can see that Ananya's hand up as well, so I just don't want to shoot for too long. But if you'd like to, are you coming up to the front to speak on this? Yeah, brilliant. I'll hand over to Ananya, but if we leave this in the thing to get back to as well, I'll send a list of all the initiatives and please contact me for more.
Yeah, this might seem like a bit of a random one in terms of cost of living, but I've been working with the graduations team and the inclusive education team on making graduations more affordable. So obviously this isn't like an experience that could support cost of living through your entire university experience, but it is a very important day for everyone who attends university, and it can be very, very, very expensive in a way that isn't actually communicated to us as students. Like I remember signing up to rent my gown, and it was like 70 quid, which is wild, especially if you are a student from a low income background and you haven't been given the time to actually financially prepare for graduation, because no one tells you. But also I think in terms of thinking about, for example, some international students who may not come from extremely wealthy socioeconomic backgrounds, the entire cost of having their families come and travel all the way from wherever they may be in the world, book a hotel for a couple of days. All of it jacks up a lot of money, and it can be quite an expensive experience. And one of the main things and the shocking inquiries I got this year that I didn't think I would, but I think was the highest number of inquiries, is does the SU have a funding pot to help support with the cost of graduations, that whether that's graduation gowns, even the pictures themselves cost an arm and a leg. I remember I paid like 45 quid for one digital picture of myself holding a scroll. Like, anyways, but yeah, so I think the university doesn't do a great job of like signposting to how much these things cost. So that's been the main thing, is trying to get them update their web pages, which was successful, but it shouldn't be that difficult, but it was. But the web pages have been successfully updated, and then Martha will be coming out with a graduation starter pack that kind of details broadly what the costs might be. We didn't put any exact costs to it, but because we didn't want to mislead anyone, but like it's the broad range of what it may be, and it is still quite spenny, but hopefully getting this information out early on means that people can start saving up money, even if it means that departments or the SU hasn't ring-fenced money for that yet.
Amazing. Thank you. This one was undone. Are there any opportunities to reduce the cost of a sport membership? It seems like a waste of money for some students and an accessibility barrier when students have to pay for sports club and kit. I think Louis knows who I'm going to call on for this one.
So I think there's two parts to this. There's the formal sport membership and there's the overall cost to play sport. So one of the main things we've picked up as part of the big review we've done this year is that actually within our sporting environment there's a hell of a lot of hidden costs, and they're not made available to you when you start here, right? So you're a freshman, you go to sports fair for the first time, you decide you want to play sport here. You're told, well, you just need the club pass, the fed fee, the £6, whatever. You don't then realise that there's this whole wave of costs that sits behind that, and that's really bad. Not just because it dumps you guys with costs that you're not aware of, but consumer rights, etc. Like there's a huge amount that we could be liable for. So again, one of the big parts of the review is to formalise all of that, to make sure that all of those costs are put into a single or 2 points of payment when you start, to make sure that you guys are fully aware of the costs that you're going to have to pay. Around that formal cost though, absolutely, we can definitely reduce that sports cost, but it might mean that we have to cut back elsewhere, right? As you'll have seen with Buck spending, we're really struggling to fund in a sustainable way our current delivery model anyway. And that makes it really hard to then figure out ways that we can adjust elsewhere. We've really focused on giving the best value sporting experience this year, so making sure that the fee that you do pay then gives you the most amazing sporting experience during your time at university. And I think that's a much more nuanced conversation than just the initial fee. So absolutely, I'm always open to that conversation. If we've got that balance wrong between that value proposition, then that's something that we should absolutely be looking at. I'd also just remind everyone that, clubs are not the only way that you can engage with sport here at Warwick as well. We have the most amazing Rock Up and Play program, which provides free sporting activity to several thousand students with 50 hours of free activity every week. And there's also the intramural leagues, which a number of our societies take part in, for example, and for about £80 a year, then you have access to a range of fixtures within the, with facilities, with centrally supported timetabling, etc. as well. So there are so many different ways to get involved with sport here, more than just the initial sport club offering.
Thank you. Sorry, going to try to go pretty quickly now because we've only got a limited amount of time. Any questions that we don't answer today, we will answer online afterwards. Does the board have a timeline for the removal of socks fed, etc.? Adam, please, would you come up and grace us with your timeline? Be very quick, please.
Not yet. But for next board meeting, we're looking at future budgets and things. But so far, we don't have anything solid.
Thank you very much. To come back to, given its good practice across the charity sector, can those trustees remaining on board to commit to away days and social engagement with staff and council to build relationships, ideally with term one? Yes, we do have away days and social engagement with other trustees and with staff. Council is something I really like to do. Obviously, as trustees, some of us actually do sit on council. I think there's stuff like the council, the forum training day, which was really good to build relationships across forums. That hasn't potentially happened in previous years. Do you think this meeting specifically got a reasonable turnout? I think, considering that I think about half people's in his dissertations are due today, and half people's dissertations are due tomorrow. Look, I don't know, it's not bad. And considering last year, the only people there was, I think, there was 2 people that were either there that were not either officers or officers to be. So look, thanks to everyone for turning out today, guys. Like, I appreciate, it's not a packed room, but like, it's pretty good for week 2, term 3. So, thanks, guys. Trustee T-Bar Tuesday. I personally will be in T-Bar after this, so if anyone wants to join me on Trustee T-Bar Tuesday, feel free. Will hoodies for forum and course reps be confirmed for next year? I'll get back to you on that. Personally, yes, hopefully there will be, but I'll get back to you on that. Phil, Louise, time? Are we time? I'm being told that's time. All the rest of the questions, thank you very much for asking, everyone. Thank you for being engaged. 23 questions is 23 more than we asked the trustees last all members meeting. So we'll endeavour to get back to you online. We'll publish the results online. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm now going to hand over to Ollie.
Okay. So thank you to everyone who contributed to that section. For me, that's the most important section here. And, it's a shame we didn't get to go through all of it. But again, as James has said, they will be answered in due course online on the website. Just a reminder that if you didn't get to ask a question tonight, or you're still waiting for a response to anything you did ask, you can email studentvoice@warwicksu.com, or you'll find the answers published on the website, as James said. So before we wrap up for the evening, we are going to pause and enjoy another brilliant student performance. So please join me in welcoming Sushila Kapoor, who will be performing an Indian classical dance piece. And please join me in an applause ahead of this.
बस रंग दुलाल मोहे रंग दुलाल मोहे रंग
Thank you, Sheila, so much. It was amazing. Brilliant. Can we do another round of applause, please? It's yet again just another amazing example of the brilliant student talent we have here. So thanks for coming. Thanks for doing it. It was an absolute honour to watch it. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So we are now towards the end of the formal part of the evening, and I want to take this time to say some thank yous. So first and foremost, thank you to every single student here tonight. Without you, this meeting literally would not exist. It would just be an empty room with loads of colleagues just talking about what they've done. So pretty boring. Our democracy wouldn't function, and this union wouldn't either, if it wasn't driven by the voices it exists to represent. So thank you for being here and for engaging and shaping your students' union. Thank you to my fellow board members for the past year, for your time and your participation, your challenge and your strategic guidance in steering the union forward. Thank you to our SU colleagues who work day in, day out to support in delivering with students rather than only for students. Your professionalism and commitment make everything you've seen tonight possible. So our Chief Exec, Phil, and his team of directors and all the colleagues at the SU, thank you so much. And finally, I'd like to give a huge thank you to Nick Smith, who... Is Nick Smith in the room? Nick Smith has gone. But I will say it and he will see it on the video. So Nick, this is for you. Please be watching, Nick, otherwise this is very awkward. Nick, would you like to give a wave for us? Is the first part of my script, so let's just imagine there's a wave. Nick has been pivotal in the student union movement for many years now, supporting student leaders and student unions, and about 6 months ago, he offered his advice free of charge to student unions about how to basically put on a meeting like this successfully, to challenge them on thinking about how we should put on meetings like this and make them look basically like they have today, which is putting students at the heart of the agenda. Working alongside James and Louise, who are both here, he has helped create and shape the vision and has guided this year's meeting by centering you, our students. The main contributors, sorry. So thanks, Nick. I'm sure you all agree that his collaboration and direction has made a real difference, and I've absolutely loved the focus of this year's meeting and look forward to developing this format for years to come. So maybe we should do a round of applause to everyone that I've just mentioned and for Nick towards the camera as well. Before we finish, the only thing left for me to remind you is of what's coming up at Warwick SU. So, if you are eligible and still around next year, please do nominate yourself for the summer elections. The deadline is this Sunday. Please also join us on the 16th of June for another celebration with the Warwick SU Union Awards. There will be a buffet. So if that's not a reason to be there, what is? And most of all, please just continue to be involved, whether that's through sports, societies, forums, campaigns, or in leadership roles. It's your union. So we're now towards the end of the meeting. I'm about to adjourn it, but just so you know, there is food in the lounge. If you follow some of my colleagues, they'll direct you. And there's also a bar in there, and it's Tuesday. So it's basically the weekend, so do as you will. It's been my absolute pleasure. My name is Ollie. I'm your VP Welfare and Campaigns and the President-elect for next year. So I hope you've enjoyed the evening and good night. Thank you.